everyone! I'm Lily, and today I was planning on actually doing a different video other than this one, but my internet went out about 20 minutes ago, and it still isn't back yet, and I still needed to grab some images offline, so yeah, look out for that video on Wednesday. So, instead, we're going to be doing a video which I already had all the images and stuff planned for, and that is another installment of my top cards for Commander Cube. Now, the logical next episode to be due would probably be War of the Spark, the most recent set that I should have done when, like, it was more relevant and there was hype around it and stuff like that. And I did 3 times, and all 3 times I messed something up with recording the audio, which I've since fixed. It just factory reset Audacity and it records fine now. And also it was when I was like sick and stuff. So I'm gonna give that a few weeks, and I'm kind of annoyed by that video because I've recorded it 3 times and I know just going to a 4th something will go wrong. So I'm avoiding it because top 10 cards for Commander Cube from War of the Spark. That video has hurt me. Even though you have not seen that, it has hurt me. So rather, we're going to be doing the top 10 cards for Commander Cube from one of my favorite sets, and that is Conspiracy 2. Conspiracy 2 came about just I don't remember if it was before or after Eldritch Moon. I believe after, but I'm not sure. So it was actually relatively early on when I was playing, but if you're not familiar with Conspiracy, it was a set made to be drafted and then you played multiplayer. Which, I wonder what other formats sound like. Okay, it revolves around draft and then you play in multiplayer. Oh wait, Commander Cube. So there's actually a lot of really cool stuff from Conspiracy. Both Conspiracy sets have a lot of things that care about multiplayer, but also things that care about the draft itself. So we're going to be going through and just, even though there aren't actually that many new cards in the set, because it was a supplemental set which a lot of the cards were reprints, kind of like Battle Bond and things like that. But, that said, a lot of the cards are really good for multiplayer and really cool, so it was kind of hard to make these decisions and whatnot. So, if you haven't seen the series before, because it's been a little bit while since I did it, I'm going to be evaluating these cards based on the format of Commander Cube, which if you're not familiar, I've done videos on it. Just search Commander Cube on my channel, you should see lots of videos on it. But in short, it is a format where you go ahead and draft, and at the end you build a commander deck. Usually 100, sometimes 60 card deck, headed up by a commander, and then after the draft you play a multiplayer game of Commander. So it's really cool. It's a really awesome format. If you get a chance, you should definitely play it. I'm going to try to get a few pods going at Magic West Seattle, but I actually think I might be already full of people wanting to draft my cube. But yeah. I have a few criteria, and most of them I'll talk about as I go into it. But one is the very obvious one is I do not include reprints, which is very important for the set, where I just didn't look at any of the reprinted cards because that was a lot of the set. In 2, I didn't talk about the legendary creatures, just because every Commander Cube handles legendary creatures differently, and it just changes it. Also, legendary creatures often build with Commander in mind, and therefore kind of maybe aren't the best. They would dominate the lists, and for those reasons I don't include them. So hopping into it, I have a few honorable mentions before we get into the main list, and the first one is Skyline Despot, and he's on here because a lot of the kind of like the rare tier Monarch enablers are honestly all solid inclusions. Honestly, I would probably put them all in the top 10, except maybe not Protector of the Crown. But I decided to move Skyline Despot to the honorable mentions, just so it isn't just half of the top 10 is these Monarch enablers. So the Monarch is this awesome mechanic that I love in Commander Cube. I run almost all the ones that aren't flat out terrible that enable the monarchy in my cube. I even have a custom conspiracy called Who Died and Made You Queen that just start, if you choose it, you just get to start the game as a monarch. And the monarchy means at the beginning of your end step, you get to draw an additional card. But the monarchy can be stolen from you if you take combat damage. So if another player deals combat damage to you, they become the monarch, and then they'll draw a card at the end of their turn, and someone else can get the monarchy. So it's kind of it gets passed around a lot, and it does a few really cool things where it encourages aggression. It dissuades something that tends to happen in multiplayer Magic, that no one really wants to attack for fear of like making an enemy or leaving themselves open. But all of a sudden there's this risk reward there, and it helps speed up games. It has a lot of fun play to it, and yeah, it's really cool. Skyline Despot, all the rare ones typically give you additional like benefits for holding on to the monarchy or just like becoming the monarch again. And Skyline Despots is very powerful, and it makes people really want to take the monarchy from you, because at the beginning, if you get through a whole turn cycle and it's your turn again, and you're still the monarch, you get a 5/5 dragon. Like every single turn that you still are the monarch, which is hard to do. But yeah, no. But I mean, this is also nice because this is technically card advantage in red. Like all of these do essentially cycle themselves, so it's like the minimum. Yeah. So, but honorable mention just mostly to talk about the monarch. Marchessa's Decree also enables the monarch, and this one is an enchantment, and it also has whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, they lose 1 life. So it's a cool kind of like pillow fort card. It just doesn't make it all the way on there, but it's very good, and you should include it because the monarchy is awesome. Again, I just pushed these monarch cards out just so the list wasn't dominated by them. And next we have Emissaries Ploy, which is in the honorable mentions because it requires... It's cool, but you have to do some funky stuff to it. So it's Emissaries Ploy is a conspiracy which says, before drawing your opening hand, choose 1, 2, or 3. You may spend mana as though over any mana of any color to cast creature spells with CMC equal to the chosen number. So typically it's meant to help like smooth out your draws and plays and stuff like that. But one thing I do in my cube, which I like, is I also allow this conspiracy to and there's a few others in Conspiracy 1 that also do similar things, to overcome color identity restrictions. Where normally, even in Commander Cube, you can only play cards that fit within your commander's color identity. And I allow cards like this that allow you to, like specifically conspiracies like this, to change how you build your deck. There's some conspiracies, most conspiracies in Conspiracy 1 that fundamentally give you kind of deck building restrictions on how you build your deck. And Emissaries Ploy is one of those that's like, okay, this is cool, this is interesting. Like, you can like, it gives you options to like, oh, I can put any 2 or 3 drop or 1 drop in my deck all of a sudden. It just adds some flexibility and lets people play more cards, which I like. But again, that does require a rule change, and some people like their cubes to have as few rule changes as possible. I'm not that kind of person. I have a cheat sheet. I have like a reminder sheet that I like give people with my cube to like remind them like, here's a rundown of everything that's changed. If it's on 1 page, it's not that bad, but it's helpful. And the final honorable mention we have is just Stunt Double, which is honorable mention mostly for normal honorable mention reasons, and that's just because it's a really cool and powerful card, but we've seen clone effects before. It's a 4-mana clone with flash, which is cool. It's like a neat thing, and it's a cool, fun thing to include, but it is by no means like unique or original, so yeah. Okay, moving on into the actual top 10. At number 10 we have Weight Advantage, which is a conspiracy, which If you're not familiar, conspiracies start the game in the command zone. I mentioned one before, and they just have an effect that is just a staple thing. Like, it's kind of like, think of them as an emblem. You have to draft them. They don't count towards the number of cards in your deck. They just start in the command zone, and you just have that effect. They can't be interacted with, which some people don't like. But Weight Advantage is one, which is a conspiracy which says each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. I really like buffs as an archetype, but this is just a fun one where it just gives you that effect always, which can really just like help smooth out the deck if you want to kind of make a butts deck and don't necessarily have one of the butts commanders, because there aren't that many of them. Like, you have Doran and Arcades, but that's about it. Like, if the cube allows Planeswalker commanders, you have New Huatli. But just having another source of this, and this is like a really, really good source for, sure, you might still need the cards that like Defender's Attack, but Weight Advantage itself is gives that thing. And I like it also here because you don't actually need to be in a butts deck to maybe run this. Like, I was playing my last draft I was playing Brago, and I had drafted a Weight Advantage. It wasn't a butts deck, but I was just like flipping through my deck. I'm like, actually, on average, my thing guys' toughness or bitch are larger than their power. Yeah, sure, Weight Advantage. And I had some other conspiracies, and all of a sudden, instead of a 2/4, Brago was coming in essentially as a 5/5 with haste. And that was not fun. No one likes a hasty 5/5 Brago. No one does. I mean, no one likes Brago. Especially when you're like flickering Angels of Despair. I was not a nice person in that draft. But, yeah, no, Weight Advantage is surprisingly more versatile than it looks. Also, conspiracies being kind of rare, and honestly, Cube being really the only place you played them outside of Conspiracy Draft, makes them kind of fun and unique to play with, and kind of exciting in that way, where it's something you don't really do in normal Magic. Next we have Regal Behemoth, which is a 6 mana, 5/5 trample. It has been eroded to be a dinosaur. Don't worry, there is justice in the world. This is in fact not creature lizard, but creature dinosaur. And when it enters battlefield, you become the Monarch. And as long as whenever you're the Monarch, whenever you tap a land for mana, you can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is like a neat one where it's not like one of the Monarch cards where it's like, oh, you have to get her back around to your upkeep, or it isn't when it's like on your upkeep. But Regal Behemoth is just kind of this effect as long as you are the Monarch. And it's a very powerful one. It essentially doubles your mana, which is this really cool thing. It does a little bit of everything. And it's one of those that really incentivizes you to stay the Monarch, and for people to like both take the Monarch from you and like, protect you from getting it, because this is one that's nice, because it's like, even if they take the Monarch from you, you can just swing back, take it back, and then second main phase, do your big turn with like all this extra mana. Also, a 5/5 of trample is a very effective body for getting back the Monarch. Also, it's a dinosaur, so what can I say? Next up, we have a Vintage and Legacy Cube staple. We have Recruiter of the Guard, which is a 3 mana 1/1. When it enters battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with toughness 2 or less, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your library. It's just, she is a very, very good tutor. And while I'm generally kind of against tutors in normal EDH, this restrictive tutors I don't have that big of an issue with. But while I'm generally against tutors in EDH because I feel it makes games a bit too samey and stuff like that, and it kind of defeats the purpose of playing 100-card singleton, in Commander Cube, I have no problems with tutors. Mostly because you're only playing these decks once or twice. You want to be able to play for toys, and creatures like this kind of help you just smooth out everything. And just, there's a lot of very relevant things in EDH that have small butts. And, yeah. The only thing against this card is it is kind of expensive. I don't even own one. I'd like to, but I don't. I actually want to. One for my cube, one for my humans deck, because she's so good in humans. Oh, yeah. Next up is our first draft matter cards, which I also really love. These are cards that affect the draft, have you do stuff during the draft. And the first one we have is Regicide, which is 1 black for an instant. Reveal it as you draft it. The player to your right, if it's your right, so it'd be your right, chooses a color, you choose a color, and then your player to your left chooses a third color. And this thing can, for 1 black mana, destroy target creature that's 1 or more of the colors denoted with Regicide. So, it means that, like, you get to kind of, like, have this, like, very efficient removal spell that what it can target is, determined by the people around you. And, yeah, well, Doomblade is probably better and similar effects, that are a little bit more expensive. It's a really fun one, and kind of giving that choice during the draft is, it creates, like, what I go back to in these videos, which, even if it isn't maybe the best card, it creates cool draft experiences. So, yeah. Next up we have Collar of the Untamed. Oh, one second. One thing I want to say also, just besides that on Regicide, is it is also kind of neat because it can kind of give you insight into what colors the people around you are, because presumably they'll be naming colors that they're not, and you can, like, read into that if you're, like, super into, like, reading what people around you are during the draft. But it is also a neat thing that it adds. There's a lot of draft matter cards that are like, oh, it's like a mediocre body, but when you draft it, you can look at someone's pick. And typically, I don't really use those because the usefulness of that information isn't super high. But generally, I prefer the draft matter cards. There's a lot of ones in Conspiracy 1 which do very relevant things in the draft. Things like picking an additional card from the pack, or getting everyone's last pick from that pack, and stuff like that, where as opposed to, like, and, like, sure, they all have usually mediocre bodies attached, but you're not drafting them for the bodies. But you have to make sure that the effect is worth it if it's a card that will never end up in a deck. And looking at someone's pick really isn't that. Okay, Collar of the Untamed, who is a 4 mana, 2/4, and before you shuffle your game and start the game, you reveal this card from your deck, and exile a creature card you drafted that isn't in your deck. Notably, that card does not have to be within your commander's color identities because it's not in your deck. You may pay X, tap her, and put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of the card you exiled with cards called Collar of the Untamed. X is the CMC of that card. So she's a really cool thing. She lets you circumvent CMC, but also kind of, oh, do I play something that's, like, kind of splashy and big and tap with her, or do I just, like, attach a value creature that, like, is gonna be really good every turn that I'm, like, just cling her with, and she's cool, and there's a lot of neat things you can do with her. And, like, if anything you're doing with things with tokens, I can give you, like, cool things like populate, and stuff like that. So, yeah, no. There's a lot of cool things to do, and again, it's one of those cards which you never play anything that isn't a cube. And honestly, most cubes, she isn't playable other than Commander Cube, and cards that are, like, genuinely good in Commander Cube that just cannot be played anywhere else, like, this isn't even Commander playable, because it requires stuff that doesn't, requires, it's a Draft Matters card, and, getting to play it here is really cool. In a similar vein, we have Arcane Savant, which is 3 blue for a 3/3. When you before you shuffle your deck, you reveal this card and exile an instant or sorcery card you drafted that isn't in your deck. Notably, still does not have to be in the color identity of your commander. When he enters the battlefield, choose a copy of a card you exiled with, like, you get to essentially cast that spell. So, very similar effect, but instead of making a token, it's just an ETB effect, cast it. Obviously, he's like very good if you're doing anything with like flicker effects and stuff. Oh, he would have been nasty if I had gotten him in my Brago deck the other day. But otherwise, just really cool, really like neat effect. And this is one where you definitely like our color of the team. There's like actual like risk reward. Like do it just something that's kind of cheap that I kind of just can get a value every turn. I had one person who just like Caller of the Untamed, and just revealed Elvish Visionary from their deck on one draft. And I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna just pay 2 mana every turn and draw a card and get a 1/1, and it was just surprisingly efficient card advantage engine. But Arcane Savant is just really just like go big. You know what? Cruel Ultimatum there. Okay, I'm now gonna Ghostly Flicker my Arcane Servant. Oh look, it's another Cruel Ultimatum. What do you do? Yeah, no. It's just kind of like a cool, big, flashy card that is something you just don't get to do in other formats. Duretti, Ingenious Iconoclast, which is 1 black and a red for a 3 loyalty Planeswalker. His +1 is you create a +1/+1/1 colorless construct artifact creature with Defender. -1, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, destroy target artifact or creature. -6, choose target artifact card in a graveyard or battlefield. Put 3 tokens that are copies of it onto the battlefield. So, Dreading I really like because I really like cards that like are like help encourage you to go into a specific archetype or really reward you for already being in a specific archetype. And Duretti is obviously, he's good in artifact decks. That's kind of what he does. What I really like about Duretti for Commander Cube is that not only does he give you, he's both kind of a payoff and a enabler. Like he both creates artifacts and it gives you a good outlet for artifacts. And it's also just like a cheap creature. Like if your cube allows commanders, he's actually a real solid commander to run because you just get a removal spell and a token generator, like an token artifact generator from the command zone. And yeah, no, he just does a lot of good, like a lot of really cool things. Also, Duretti's like kind of awesome. But yeah, no, it's just, it really fills this like this niche where there's very few risks. Like even if you're on an artifact deck, you don't mind, like Duretti's not the end of the world. Like you play him, you get some like defenders and stuff, and sure they might deal with them, but you might get a removal spell out of it. You can throw like a mana rock you're not using anymore to kill something, and then you just play the 3 mana removal spell, and that's perfectly fine. So yeah, no, Duretti is a really cool and really solid guy. The Boogeyman, Expropriate, really is kind of like the second most infamous card from Conspiracy 2. The first one is the one depicted on this card, which was Leovold. Isn't really an issue in Commander anymore, but Expropriate is a 9 mana sorcery, so very expensive, very flashy, but is a Council's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile, Expropriate. So at the very worst, this is a Time Warp plus Blatant Thievery, which is a very good card. Because generally, if the person can absolutely avoid it, they should always say money. Like, giving them, like, taking 1 extra turn is not good, because they're spending their whole turn playing Expropriate, and that's good, but you don't want to give them additional turns after that. If someone takes more than 2 turns in a row, they're essentially winning the game unless they're extremely unlucky. And Expropriate is one of those things where it is one of those kind of game-ending cards and these like finishers that like decks really do need, because the game needs to end at some point, and Expropriate usually ends the game pretty fast, because usually they get to steal a bunch of stuff, create a dominating board state, untap, attack at least take out one player usually, and be in a very good position for the next run. And that is the worst case scenario for Expropriate. And it's only kind of like up from there. Yeah, it's 9 mana. It's a lot going on, but yeah, no, it's just I'll talk about more when I actually do the War of the Spark, but like the importance of finishers and these finisher cards, and it's very easy to get caught up in like, okay, let's make all my deck synergies work and all the archetypes be fleshed out within the queue and things like that, and take a step back and be like, what are the cards just allow player in any like given like color to just win the game? Things like they don't necessarily have to be like the fair ones or things like that, but just like things like Craterhoof, things like what is it called? I mean, to an extent, Cyclonic Rift. Obviously, like it's like not a defensive one, but like an offensive Cyclonic Rift. Red, not Mass Mutiny, Insurrection, and just generally cards like that just kind of end games. And Expropriate is a great example of one of those. Granted, it's still kind of expensive and could really use a reprint. Honestly, a lot of the Conspiracy 2 cards could really use reprints. Because what was that, 2016? So yeah, it was a while ago. It's getting up there at least. But yeah, no. Also, CN2 just didn't get printed a lot, and it didn't sell super well because it was like really awkwardly wedged between sets, and which is kind of sad because it was such a good set. Like, it was a blast to play. If you ever get a chance to draft either of the Conspiracies, take it because they are so much fun to play. The cosplay group at Portland, we one of the people there has a cube that's a Conspiracy 1 cube that we played. That was a lot of fun. Okay, but that's kind of off topic. Next up we have Custodial Lich, which is another one of those Monarch cards, which is 3 black for a 4/2. When it enters battlefield, you become the Monarch. Whenever you become the Monarch, target player sacrifices a creature. This is just honestly just a very efficient card. It's a 5 mana 4/2 that cycles himself because you get a card at the beginning of game turn for being the Monarch, and is an edict on top of that. And that's just a real solid bundle altogether. On top of that this is a thing that like enables monarchy that kind of makes it risky for people to take the monarchy from you, because then you can retake the monarchy and start edicting again, and can just like, he gives you your value when he comes down, and anything after that is just real solid. Like, he fits in any black deck, but like any like specifically like sacrifice deck kind of like really likes this kind of card. And I mean, it's not so much relevant for Commander Cube, but the fact that he's also a zombie is kind of cool, like and relevant for a lot of decks. No, Custodial Lich is just real good. Also, not even Commander Cube. You should be playing these Monarch cards in actual Commander, because they're a lot of fun. And really kind of like, they do a good job of like disrupting unfair decks, because it's like the like combo decks and stuff aren't wanting to use the red zone, and they're very squishy when you like want to just like punch them in the face and you're just drowning yourself in carded, like the creature based decks are drowning themselves in card advantage from being the Monarch. Not drowning themselves, but giving them themselves enough card advantage to keep up with like the dedicated ones. Which is a neat dynamic that I like. And now for number 1 of from the set, we have Throne of the High City, which is a colorless land. It taps for colorless, but you can also have 4 and sacrifice it, and you can become the Monarch. This is my number 1 because, like I said, honestly, my favorite thing from the set is definitely the Monarch mechanic. I cannot stress how great a dynamic it adds to games. And Throne of the High City is number 1 because it can go into any deck. If you use kind of like a lot of commander cubes use a lands draft portion. All of this, depending on how you do it, some people like do lands draft as like being only fixing. I do it with all lands and things like that. So, but this is a way for any deck to enable a Monarch. And yeah, no, it just goes to like, there's not much to say here because it's very simple. It's what it does is it enables the monarchy, and the monarchy is so much fun to play with. And Throne of the High City just does that, like, plain and simple. Also, this card is like only like $1, which is just nuts, and it should not be this cheap. Pick them up now. Just it's really good. Like any creature-based deck in EDH should probably run this if you don't have because it's like if you have the creatures to take and keep the monarchy, it's just a free card advantage engine. Also, politically, it's also really nice because it's kind of like, oh, you can't blame me for attacking you. I just want the card advantage from you being the monarch. So, death to kings till I'm king. Then long live the king, I guess. But, yeah. So in conclusion, monarchies are good, except they're not. Monarchy's not a good idea. But, in real life. But in Commander Cube, awesome. 100% great system. But yeah, no, that's my top 10 for Conspiracy 2, Take the Crown. Also, nothing about the monarchy, which is something that I haven't done with, is that you can get a really cool hat, either being an actual, like, kind of cool crown, or just a really dumb hat, and have that be part of the monarchy, and that's just great. I still need to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'll probably go for something of, like, a bit more elegant, because it's like, I don't know, like, my whole theme is kind of like library, like, I don't know, my whole thing is kind of like books and literary themed, and, I'll have to figure something out. Maybe I'll get like a crown from try to make like a replica of like some crown from a book or something. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you have an idea of what my Commander Cube's crown should be. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't do these things because I don't care about my discoverability on YouTube. Like, I'm bad at those things because A, they feel unnatural, and I just want this to be like super casual and whatnot, and I could probably turn this off. I'm gonna break the fourth wall. Oh, yeah. I just like super casual, and it's like, also it's like, you know what, there's enough people watching my videos, and I just want to make content that is good for you, and I don't want to like force it into like some fake like, oh yes, engage with me. I mean, I'm not saying don't comment, like I do read them all, because I'm not the sides that I just can't read all of them. I reply to a lot of them. Check out the Discord. That's what you should really do. Don't comment. Don't even like. Just come to the Discord. It's cool. I'm there a lot, and some cool people. But yeah, that's enough rambling at the end of this. Well, but seriously, let me know if you think I missed over something, because there's a lot of cool things in the set. And also Conspiracy 1. I'll probably actually do a Conspiracy 1 video pretty soon, just because there's a lot of cool things in these. Also for these Commander Cube videos, I'm probably gonna just start jumping around sets and just kind of like doing like a bit of this, a bit of that, bit of that. So if you have like a set you'd like to see a review of, let me know, and I'll look around to putting together a list for it. So yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a wonderful night. And as always, may your stories smile upon you.